With that, help me welcome Drake Powe.
Well, the very first thing I always love to do is I always love to ring the bell. And I really want to suggest that you guys develop some sort of ritual in your own grounding and spiritual practice. Have a spot in your room, in your house that you go to that really becomes imbibed with that energy. And your own sort of ritual, light a candle, light incense. I think bells are a great thing because they ring at every level of our being. So when I ring the bell, I'm going to ask you guys to listen carefully. Here we go. So the very first thing I'm going to ask you to do is take a nice deep breath in. Big sigh. Let your breathing come back to normal. And I'm going to ask you just to fill the space. You do fill the space. I'm just asking you to be aware of it. So take a look around, see people around you. Tap into presence. There's something about presence that helps to create a space for genius. So to me, that's what I do, is I help people create a space for genius. It's not about being a genius. It's about opening the space for genius. Like opening the window to make it more likely you'll get a breeze. So the first thing I want to say before I really jump into what I'm here to talk about is I want to talk, you mentioned guru, and I want to talk about that for a moment, just quickly. My own perception of myself is I'm very not into the cult of personality. I think that's one of the reasons that we're in trouble, is that we're into the cult of personality. I have been a rebel my whole life. I am a rebel, so I rebel, okay? And so I've always rebelled against authority figures, and I have no interest in being an authority figure, although life is funny because I have a daughter. And now I am the authority figure. And I have this little rebel, right? So this brings me to what I really am here to talk about, which is humor, laughing, and its importance in our spiritual practice. But before I talk about what's funny, I want to talk about what's serious. So when I was a kid, all the way from being a boy all the way through my teenage years, and from my 15 to 25, I was like a physical specimen, man. I was built. And I remember being a kid and looking at these old men who were men like 50 years old, I thought they were old. And they would be doing things around the house or whatever, and oftentimes I would see their butt crack hanging out of their pants. And I have to tell you, I dripped with disdain for these people, right? I just thought it was so weird. I was disgusted. Sometimes I'd just be walking behind them, and they'd just be walking, and their pants would be sagging down. It's not like the modern style of the sagging down, right? And sometimes I knew people who got to the point where they seemed comfortable with it. They'd be doing something, and they'd look at you, and you would look at them, and they'd just be like, But this is serious, and life is cruel because I'm 56 years old. And oftentimes I find my butt crack is hanging out. Right? Now, I tell you this story because of the importance of framing. That story is actually true, right? But it's an approach. It's about laughing about life. It's about laughing about the transformations that we all undergo. It's about letting go. It's about not insisting things be the way that we want them to be. Right? I remember being about 18 years old, calculating when I was going to be 40, and it was just like, I had 1,000 years until I was going to be 40. And all of a sudden that whoosh, I don't have a flat top hairstyle anymore. My hair is bald. There's a lot of things that if I could have seen at that time about what was going on right now, I would have been extremely disappointed. Disappointed in myself, disappointed in what I had to go through every day. I want to change that. I don't have to go through it. That's a suffering. but the challenge of not suffering with what I deal with. So I deal with a lot of pain. I find it very, very difficult to walk. It's very painful in my knees and hips, my back, my neck. I played football. I was a good football player. Well, relatively good. And I also worked for, cumulatively for close to 25 years with extremely dangerous people. So life has a sense of humor, and it's funny because we tend to recreate our childhood in our adult life. But I really want to encourage you to realize how important it is to laugh every day. I mean, I laugh hard every day. I have to. It's an antidote. It shifts things. Okay? We have to laugh at ourselves. We have to laugh at what we're uncomfortable with. We have to be more tolerant when other people laugh at us. And we have to realize that sometimes they're not going to understand our background or what we went through. We have to be tolerant sometimes. But it's really important for us to step up to this. We really want to understand some of the reasons why it's important to laugh. Laughing is a means of firewalling your consciousness. Laughing is a means of reducing your stress level. Laughing is a means of connecting with other people who are different than you. When you laugh with someone else from a completely different background, when you laugh at the same thing, you create kindness. I've had people who hated me, who I said something funny, and in that moment, they can't resist it. They kind of like you. Like, oh, God, I really don't like you, but I kind of like you right now. We laugh. When we are with people who make us genuinely laugh, we enjoy their presence. We have to laugh every day. We have to laugh at the way that life is so funny. Life is the perfect comedian. So this morning, the way things work for me is that if I don't get to a speaking engagement at least 15 minutes ahead of time, I don't feel like I'm on time. That's like a bedrock thing for me. And so I got up and I was dealing with something with my daughter, and all of a sudden I realized time was not exactly what I thought it was. But I'm okay because I always give myself that buffer. And then I know where my keys are. I always tell myself everything has a home, and I put my keys in the same spot all the time. So I walk up and I'm confident. I reach for my keys aren't there. I'm like, where are my keys? Then I spend about 10 minutes searching for my keys. Then I'm like, okay, I still got plenty of time. So let me put the GPS on. My phone says, you've reached your data limit. All right, okay, I know exactly where the church is. And so I drive over here, and then there's a really big fire truck, and it's going like very slowly, and I'm like behind it. Life is the perfect comedian. But I know exactly where it is, and I come around, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, I thought it was on this block. I couldn't find it. See, what I'm saying is in that moment I had to laugh. And the laughter, even though I have standards, helped me to not be at hard edges with them. So this is really, really important. This is one of the most important times in your life to laugh a lot. Now, I know because you guys, I'm 56, and you guys maybe haven't done meditation as long. Maybe some of you have done longer than that. But because of my age, I'm really, and my history with meditation, I'm really good at picking up things in our environment. And so I've been detecting, I don't want to alarm you, but I've been detecting people are a little bit stressed. Has anyone else noticed that at all? Yeah? Yeah. So laugh. It doesn't have to necessarily be about what's going on. Laugh about things that are not related. Find things to laugh about. Pay attention. Laughing is about acting. Real acting. Real acting is about listening. Bad actors don't listen. Real acting is about deep listening, sympathetic listening. But when you do and have a sympathetic listening to your life, it'll be funny to you. This is funny stuff. Come on. It's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, it's also heartbreaking. It's also heartbreaking. And I'm not going to lie about that. What's going on for me, it really broke my heart. It really did. It really is breaking my heart. This is the truth. I'm being real. I had 2 days ago where I just broke down and wept because of all the things I've seen. And it really connected me to my past. You know, I came from a really intense racial violent background. I also had violence in the home. And I also had the opportunity to go to, my cousin's place, and they lived in the projects, and I saw a different kind of violence there. And it always just broke my heart. There was, somehow early in my life, I was heartbroken with this idea. People are so mean to each other. And even the closest people, they seem to be so mean to each other. And the Christians, they seem so mean and judgmental. And, I just couldn't understand it all. So life is funny. And I deal with a young man who makes it clear on a regular basis that he really, really doesn't like me. When I say young man, I say everyone's a young man. This guy's older than me. But it makes me feel better to call him a young man. But what it's done for me is he let me know that he never wants me, because I say hi. I say hi to everybody. And so I said hi to him. He goes to the same coffee shop I go to, and he let me know that he never want me to even utter a syllable in his direction again. And when he's there, there's this charge. And for me, from my background, I had to create I developed what I called hadar. Like, when someone's hating me, I needed to pick it up, because my stuff was at risk if I didn't. So I was so charged, and I just broke down and cried because of all the stuff, all the intolerance I'm seeing. For me, on a certain level, what's happened is sort of a worst nightmare scenario for me. But it's the opposite of that. It is my opportunity to shine out and be my best self. Yes, I did weep that night, but I knew that I didn't have a crumb leading me back, like, what's it, Hansel and Gretel? The trail back to home, to safety. I knew that I had a yellow brick road to safety, which are practices that I've been working on since I was a kid, which is the fact that I know that there's so many wonderful people out there, and with the fact that I am clearly aware of how funny that I am. I'm funny. I mean, you guys might not think I'm funny, but I laugh at my stuff all the time. So I want to do some practice, but I want to ask you guys, what about funny? What does it mean to be funny? Why do you think it's important? And I want to step into this because I'm telling you it's incredibly important that you start finding things less serious than you do. It doesn't mean that when you break down, that's a bad thing. You're going to break down sometimes. Sometimes people pass away. Sometimes you find out someone has cancer. That's okay to break down. But if we are not collapsed in it, if we recognize the size of it, if we recognize that even in the midst of things, that just because this guy hates you, the easiest thing in the world is to hate somebody who hates you. That's the easiest thing in the world. Believe me, I know it. But if you can laugh at things a little bit, if you can laugh at the insanity of humanity, right? If you can laugh at the fact that if you expect someone who has, delusional tendencies to understand that they have delusional tendencies, you're delusional, right? So tell me some things about what does it mean for you, and how do you bring laughter into your life, and do you think it's an important thing to bring into life? Please. Now, first of all, I want to ask you guys for volunteers, but be aware that you remember that movie, The Dirty Dozen? You guys, does anybody remember the movie The Dirty Dozen in here? Yeah. There's one scene where they ask for volunteers, and they're all in this line, and they all step back, and there's only one guy standing there. So I'm asking for volunteers, but I am willing to volunteer people as well. So please, tell me something about humor. How has it helped you in your life? How do you find it in life? And and what does it mean to you? Why do you think it's important? And maybe you don't think it's important. I had a friend whose family, I used to joke that the holidays was them all gathering around the table and looking grim together. Like George Costanza, remember that? Festivus for the rest of us, right? So tell me something, please. Anyone at all, please tell me something about funny. Yes?
Get on the mic so it gets on the recording.
I think laughter is kind of a place that you can go to, even if it's maybe a 55-minute special on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Name an artist and, hey, I know you're going through a tough time. You just lost your father or something like that, and it's just a separation from, you're going through a tough time, take a break. This is what you need. And real quick, I just saw a video. They're at the cemetery, they're doing the burial service, and all of a sudden there's a recording. It's the actual man. He knew he was going to die, and he's yelling, "Knock, knock, hey, I'm down here, let me out." It's hard not to laugh at that.
I saw that video. I think it was in Ireland. I saw that video. Yeah, that's great. And that's what we want to do, guys. We want to bring that out. I love looking at tombstones, funny tombstones, right? And I love funny stories. It doesn't have to be real. You know, there's a famous one about Oscar Wilde. I don't think it's real, but you know, it's a story about him that just as he was about to pass, he looked at the wallpaper across the way and he said, "That wallpaper is dreadful. Either it goes or I do." Right? Isn't that great to be funny right then? You don't have to, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're able to be funny as your last line, you are a boss. But it doesn't have to be your last line. It doesn't have to be your last line. One of my best friends, this guy was my little brother. When I met him when he was 18 and I was 28. And I knew him until he was 43 when he died of lung cancer. And it was a hard death, and I was there with him almost every day. It was a brutally hard death. But we laughed a lot. And we laughed just as he was going into the hospice the last time I saw him. You know? Anyone else? Can someone else tell us about humor? How has it helped you in your life? Maybe who you found to be funny. Maybe how humor helps us to understand life better.
Hi. Just quickly, I sometimes laugh at certain situations that wouldn't seem to be funny on the outside, and my wife is like, "What are you laughing? Why are you laughing?" And I say, I either have to laugh or I have to cry, and I'd much rather laugh. So I kind of think of it that way, you know, just to choose to laugh. So.
That's right. And you know what? You can laugh while you're crying. Just because you're crying doesn't mean that you can't have a moment of, like, you know, there's some funny stuff right there, you know? It's your power. It's your power. A couple more people, please. We have someone up here, too, who is.
I laugh every day. I try to make it a regular practice that I do. I think laughter is one of the purest forms of joy and happiness that it can bring to you because it comes to you instantaneously. It's something that's uncontrollable. It just happens. And I think that's really special, and we should always hold on to it and laugh every day. I agree with you 100%.
There was actually a brilliant story. I heard of a gentleman who was terminal cancer. And he said, "Well, I've got nothing else to do. I might as well go home." And he rented a bunch of funny movies. He just started laughing over and over again with all these movies. And he went back for his checkup. The doctor said, "We can't find cancer in your body because laughter is a higher frequency." And the cancer wasn't communicating, and all of a sudden, boom, something happened. So it's kind of fun.
Sometimes we don't know the impact that we have on others. The day I met my future husband, I was introduced as someone that came to work, played for 5 hours, worked for 3, and got more done than the rest did in 8.
Beautiful. I love it when people are funny when they're nice. That's the best. So, you know, again, just to really clarify this time is about you becoming your best self. That's what it's about. This is about how you want to have a quality of life. What is romance to you? I'm not talking about the romance that's limited to finding someone else. I'm talking about a romantic life, when you live in a way that you love your life. That's romance. So that requires you to be your best self, and it requires you to claim life in that union. I am, oneness. And laughing helps us to do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to step into some visceral practice, and some of it I want to do is some silly practice. And by the way, I want to bring up a point. One of the reasons why laughing is so important is it interrupts our sense of constancy. You know, so when you look at really, really funny jokes and really scary ghost stories, there's a common theme in that, is that there's a moment of surprise. You didn't expect it. Okay? And in that moment, there's an interruption of our sense of constancy. You know, it's like film. You guys remember film, right? Does anybody remember film? You know, like, yeah, okay. All right, so, you know, they used to have these frames, you know, moment by moment, it would create the illusion of a constant. We are here for the blink of a cosmic eye, and we are here for an eternity, and if we find that balance, we're able to laugh about it. You know, this existential human angst. So what I'm suggesting is, and this is true of de-escalation as well, it's one of the reasons that if you really make someone laugh, you de-escalate them, is that it's a non-linear de-escalation. A person that you can get to laugh doesn't realize that you just de-escalated them. People identify with the intense emotions that they're feeling at any given moment, and they really identify with the intense emotions that they've felt throughout their life as a solidity. If you can get them to laugh for that split second, they forgot it. So, you know, and by the way, I think it's really important to develop some idea in this time of de-escalation. You know, it's, you know, you have a fire drill. Why not understand how you want to handle conflicts? Not by faking it, but by being more present. You know, so that surprise. And so part of it happens from silliness. Remember, one of my jokes, and this is another one of the superpowers about being middle-aged, is I love to tell the same jokes over and over and over again. And one of the jokes that you will hear me say 1,000 times, and please just let me do it, all right? I've earned this right. At least I've told myself I earned this right. But one of my jokes is that, you know, one of the reasons why practice really has worked for me, and one of the reasons why one of the reasons I'm not afraid of being afraid in the way I used to be afraid of being afraid, right, is because I'm willing to try stuff. I will try darn near anything. I'm willing to look silly. Most people are so miserable, but they're not willing to look silly. I have been so miserable, and I almost said I am so miserable, so I want to highlight that in real time, because real time is about shifting language in real time when you find yourself saying something unkind or something that keeps you cemented in some permanent hell. Okay? So what I'm suggesting is that we can have this process, this flow that opens things up if we're willing to surprise ourselves. You know, I was willing to try things so much that if you could have told me that, you know, hey, you going out at 3 o'clock in the morning on the full moon, naked, when it's 32 degrees outside, and waving a frozen chicken over your head is going to help you, I would have been out there. You would have been my neighbor, and you would have said, Drake's out there again. So, you know, I want to do some practices. It doesn't matter. I'm inviting you to do practices with me. But if you don't, I'll do it by myself, because I'm willing to be silly. So the very first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do, any questions or statements, first of all? So what I'm going to ask you to do first is kind of take a moment, stand up. So we want to release our blockage. The feet are hip width. Just let gravity take the head and roll it over towards the right shoulder. Inhale down, roll it over towards the left shoulder. Inhale, just breathe and go back and forth, loosening up the neck and shoulders. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, don't go too fast, exhale. Inhale down, head up. Now shoulders up and over, easy. Forward, up and over, feel them going up and over. Breathe. And come back, up and over, breathe. Now arms hang, bring the palms out, shoulder blades tight. Open up the heart. Inhale. Exhale. Feel it. Inhale. Exhale. Core is slightly engaged. Let it go and have a seat. Beautiful. Now, I'm going to ask you to really go for this. Don't do it halfway. This is the first step into silly. Okay? And it's going to be really good. So I'm going to ask you now to take a nice yawn with me. All right? So just do it. Take a breath in. Give me just a moment. That was nice. That was great. Let's do it one more time. Take a nice breath in. Be with the breath. Be with the breath. Be present. Just feel it. Anytime, that was a practice. Anytime you do a practice, I suggest you take a moment right after it and notice the subtlety. Subtlety is more powerful than intensity. Your faces have been opened up. Your jaws have been stretched. The other thing is, don't you find it interesting when one person yawns, how other people begin to yawn? Right? So you were a part of a field, of a relaxation field. Everyone's stress dropped just a tiny little bit. Now we're going to step it up. Okay? Now I'm going to ask you, first of all, okay, I can see that. Yeah, I got it. Okay? So I'm going to ask you now to laugh with me. And I'm going to laugh for a full minute. A full minute. And if you think it's easy to laugh in front of a group of people for a full minute, yes, it is. Okay? So let's do it. Now you do it and just like that yawn, go with it. Here we go. Give me a moment, please. Give me a moment. Breathe. 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 Feel the aftermath. Let yourself calm down. Be at peace. Everything has a home. You are home. Breathe. Now let's do this again, but this time we're not going to laugh. Just smile. Could be a soft smile. Could be a big smile. We can talk while we smile. Just kind of put a smile on your face. I'm going to see if I can feel it. Take a breath in. Sigh it out. Feel the stillness for a moment. Feel the space. It's here. You know, the great musician Miles Davis, you know, Raj is such a great musician. You know, he has that connection to that jazz world of the East Coast. And that musician, Miles Davis, he said that the key to music is the space in between the notes. We're not talking about a manic relationship to funny, but one that we can touch on and feel that space. Can anyone share how those went? Anyone at all? How did it go for you? Did anyone enjoy any of that? Yeah? Oh, yeah? Yes?
You know, I noticed after, two things I noticed with all the stuff you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Two things I noticed with all the stuff you've been doing is, number one, I noticed I'm holding my body tense all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I became aware of that so I can stop that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing I noticed was that when I talk on one of these microphones, I forget what I'm going to say.
That was really funny. That was really, really funny. Yeah. So by the way.
Wait, I did. I remembered the second
Okay.
thing. See, I had to put a joke in there.
Yeah.
Okay, the second thing was when I was laughing because you were smiling, and I thought that was funny. And I started really, truly laughing. And then when I got done laughing, I realized I have more vitality in my body.
Yes.
It's like that's energy, that's prana. It's like I feel better.
Yes. Laughter is a form of breath work. Laughter is a form of breath work. And it's really important that we have active breath work. I mean, your whole body's in it. I mean, man, I wasn't lying when I was like, the whole body's involved with it. The other thing I wanted to point out that you did so masterfully right there is that you were really funny. And the point is, it was a surprise. Nobody can expect it. You know, one of my things in my sessions, I'm really into doing it in circles, and I'm not joking. My sense of what I do for people is I'm like a guide that takes you into the boundary waters, which, first of all, if anyone who really knew me heard me use that, they would laugh their butt off because I'm the last person who would take anyone to the boundary waters. However, but imagine that you had a guide and you didn't have experience, with camping. That's how I perceive myself. So what I'm saying is that we have to understand that where we find that point of laughter, real laughter, we have an illumination. When you really laugh honestly, you have a growth. You understand things better. You understand others better. And so it's right at that point of real true self-understanding that we really laugh. True laughter is compassionate. When people are laughing cruelty, that's not real laughter, that's something else. So that was so awesome. So what she did right there was a de-escalation because none of us could expect it. So a couple more people, please, to tell us what they experienced. Please.
I just noticed what she did was she was honest in the moment, and that was hilarious.
Yes.
And so it made me think that the laughter that you had us do and the yawning, it really brought me into the moment.
Yes. Yes. And so, I'm very into what I call micro practices. And micro practices sort of season the day. I'm not looking to change dramatically. I'm looking to change at the level of tearing one page out of a phone book. So phone books are these things that used to exist. They were like that. They had very small pages, very thin pages. I would just tearing, like one of those strong men. No, just tear them one at a time. That's the essence of kindness. So it's about presence, and real presence doesn't have separation. Real presence is not a tribal conflict. So, anyone else, please? Yes.
The laughter portion was really kind of challenging for me to get into at first. I love to laugh, but it helped me to look around at the people that really looked like they were enjoying it and peg on them, and I kept going, and then I got out of control. And you said, stop, and I was like, tears were coming down. And I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna be able to stop. So I think the momentum of the group really helped me stay laughing.
And in a way, it's hard to do it in a group because we feel some self-consciousness. But in a way, all of a sudden, that group energy kind of floods, and all of a sudden, we get, it's like trying to, start your lawnmower, and you can't get it going. And all of a sudden, you hit it, and just like, you really are laughing at a certain point. The same thing is true of the yawn. These are micro practices. Start yawning, and when you yawn, give it all of your being. Make it a full, throaty yawn. It relaxes your jaws. So a lot of what we did, again, as someone mentioned, we did that little opening thing that we did. If you're going to do a presentation, that's a great little thing to do before you go on stage. Open across your chest. Be aware that what happens to all of us, it's not just some of us, all of us, the more stress, the more fear that we feel, the shoulders pull forward and the head goes out. That's also what happens when you're on the computer. Right? The same exact thing. So there's so much in the modern world that is so helpful. Don't you think it's weird that it seems that we have more information? I can hit a button and get spiritual texts that people literally died for. And people seem to be more foolish than they've ever been. Right? It's that odd mixture. So let's do 2 more people, and then let's do another practice.
I want to go on the yawning, as I realize that yawning really is like the body ready to relax. So now I'm in conversation with people, if they start yawning, I'm grateful because I'm like, we're relaxing. So it's like these definitions of things that hold us back. Like people want to apologize because they're yawning, like it's a bad thing, like I'm bored or something. So now like I love that you use yawning, and it helps me to remember it's the simple things, and to like, I don't know, it's like we're being called to a whole definition of relating and the body, and when we're together.
That's
so
right.
Thank you for that reminder.
Yes. You're not, yes, please, you can go.
My head right now. I think sometimes people want they want to yawn because they want to relax from your information too much to your head, and they yawn in front of you. Their body wants to relax from your information. Sometimes boring, and they want to relax from your information. And they yawn.
Yes. So it's all about intent. It's about intent. Someone gives you a gift. It's not a gift if it's a manipulation. If someone yawns because they are not interested in what you're talking about, that's not that cool, you know? But if you have that gift and really that recognition of what it's for, and begin to add this into your life, this stuff is easy to do. How easy is that really? Easy stuff. But I'm suggesting that it's really imperative that you really get going on doing some easy stuff. Don't hang out. If you're laying in bed and you smell smoke, go check it out. You know, don't just stay in bed. Activate these things. It's so easy to change your emotional baseline. It doesn't mean that you don't have old scar tissue that can wake up or you can get charged. If you've had really rough things happen, I have compassion for you. I also have compassion for you if you don't feel like you've had rough things happen, because I know that you did. You know, I want to do another practice here, but I want to tell you one thing before I do. I thought this was funny, because I like to ask people, you know, I'm interested in conflict resolution. And by the way, I've had to realize, to be honest with yourself, really being funny is being honest with yourself. It's not lying to yourself. We are all hypocrites to one degree or another. But anyway, I had a claim. Someone had hit my car, and I was dealing with someone who was dealing with the claim. And I was working on this. I was about to do a presentation on conflict resolution. And so I just asked this person, you know, how do you handle it when you've offended someone, when someone is offended by something you've said or done? And she was like, well, I'd never offend anyone. I was offended, right? You know, so, you know, again, just loosen up a little bit, even when we're dealing with these difficult issues. So, I would like to try something, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, Raja, can we do one of those songs or no?
Yeah, sure.
So if we could do Salisbury Hill, that would be great. If not, it's okay. I apologize. I put Raja in a bad position with this. So I apologize to you, Raja, about that. And I'm asking you. So many reasons for you to be happy. So many reasons for you to be smiling, but you're not about to see him. You're not about to feel him. You're not about to be. Okay. Perfect. That's perfect. So I'm asking you to really go into this song and really hear it. Listen to it. I could see the city light. Wind was blowing, time stood still. And if you want to sing it, I don't know the words, but I'm going to start singing at some point. It was something to observe. It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of being hopeful. Peter Gabriel. Had no choice. I did not believe the information. Just had to trust imagination. My heart going boom, boom, boom. Son, he said, grab your things, I've come to take you home. To keep in silence, I resigned. My friends would think I was a nut, turning water into wine. energy. Just feel that energy. Bring it down. Come into silence. And breathe. Bring the breath. Bring it up. Pause. Exhale. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Pause. Exhale it out. Big sigh. Just breathe for a moment. You can have your eyes closed or open. And I just want to take us through a bit of a meditation here. Now, a big part of what we've done here today is involved with the jaws. Just breathe. The laughter, the yawning. Breathing nice and easily. Just pay attention to your jaws and begin to relax your jaws. This is about honesty. Be aware and relax your jaw. And notice that what happens when you relax your jaws is it affects your face. With all the laughing we have done here today and the letting go of negativity, we are allowing our jaws to relax. The jaws relaxing changes the relationships to the lips. When your jaws relax, your lips become softer. When your jaws relax, the lines of worry begin to fall away from your face. Your eyes set deeper into the sockets and the brow point begins to release. Breathing slowly and easily, go with it, swim with the river. Let the center of your forehead relax. And notice how easily you breathe. And be aware that with the laughing we've done today, you've created an opening that you can go through. When the jaws relax, it relaxes through the sides of the neck, through the trapezius muscles, through the shoulders. Breathing nice and easily, relaxing the jaws invites the whole body to relax through the upper back and shoulders. Slowing the breathing down, feeling the chair carrying your body. Relaxing the jaws helps the heart to open. Just feel it. All the way through your hands and feet. Breathing slowly and easily, and just for a moment, just take time. You are safe here. You are safe. You can laugh. You can be peaceful. Just bring awareness right into the heart. Just see if you can feel the space in between the notes. Breathing slowly and easily, and see if you can bring the music into your heart. There's a vibrational relationship between your heart and the music. Breathing slowly and easily. But notice the jaws want to become tense again, relaxing the jaws. And be aware of the relation between the jaws relaxing and the chest opening and the courage to be vulnerable. Listening to the music. Bring it into the heart. Listening to the music. into the heart. And gradually, slowly, breathing slowly. Slow the breath down. Not all at once, but gradually. And opening the heart. Listening carefully. Breathing slowly and easily. Remembering your intention to be authentic, to be able to laugh, to be at peace. Breathing slowly and easily. Let's take that nice, easy breath and an easy sigh. And a deep breath in and a big release. Beautiful one. Gradually, in your own time, don't snap to attention, but in your own time, opening your eyes and taking a look around. Seeing people that you love. Be aware that there are people in this room that you love. So the Buddha talked about the magic city. And the magic city is immersive practice. I was so impressed with myself. You know, I do all these sessions, and every day I take a cold shower. Ice cold, no hot water at all. And I'm like, wow, I'm pretty tough. You know, and I was talking to this guy, and he's like, oh yeah, we go to the lake and we crack the ice out every day, or you know, and we do it all winter long, and they get in and we stay up in here for 20 minutes, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that one. But every day I take these ice cold showers. Every day I'm involved with this immersive practice. I go to the magic city. The magic city is practice that's so overwhelming that you can't hold on to what you're holding on to. No matter if you are right, you have to let go of your beliefs sometimes. I don't care how right you are. You can't carry them all the time. Immersive practice lets us release from it for a moment. You know, when I take those ice cold showers, for a moment I'm done. I'm not in it. When you really have a belly laugh, for a moment you're not thinking about politics, right? Right? And by the way, this is a process to, some people would call it radical acceptance. Some people would call it unconditional acceptance. We have to accept what is before we can do something about it. If you want to go from one place that you don't want to be to a place that you do want to be, you have to be honest with yourself as to the address that you're coming from. So this immersive practice, you know, the breathing, doing all this, you know, and the flow of it. Be aware of flow. Notice, you know, Raja has this great gift with flow. You know, did anyone enjoy that process? And if you didn't, please express yourself as well. Does anyone have anything that comes forth? So part of what we're doing in this is getting our intuition to wake up. So is there anything that even has a tickle that makes you want to say something about that process or anything else right now? Okay. You volunteered, didn't you? Would you say anything about that meditation? How did that go for you?
Yeah, I would say the body seeks places to be real and be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just helped create that in community. Mm-hmm. Yet I feel we're each being called to do that and to find ways that we create that safe place for self to.
Yeah. So it's interesting. One of the things that I talk about with my groups is touching your edge without bursting through it. Now, your edge is your edge of limitation. It's like if you want to run a marathon and you're going to get up and you're like, okay, the marathon's tomorrow. And like, I'm going to be on time. Have you been training? And like, no, I'm just going to go for it. It's not a good idea. Touching your edge is not pushing yourself too far. It's not about pushing yourself at all. It's about just touching your edge of current limitation. But this time is calling for you to touch your edge. This time is calling for you to make a difference. But it's not about coming from outside in. It's about coming from inside out. And that's where we have to find our heart, and that's what happens in that. And I just think it's so interesting because there's so many different ways to do this. Can anyone else, I want to have a couple more people talk about that, and then we'll do a closing before we leave. Anyone else about that meditation? Can you tell us something about how that went for you? Okay. So.
Okay, it raised my vibration.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay in this place, and I know when I leave, I'm not going to be able to hold on to this constantly, and so the tools that you just gave us are really helpful and just a really great reminder as to how we can keep this level, and it's a place of peace and also just feels like a empowerment.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Place of power.
Beautiful. And we want to remember the point of power is always right now. This moment is the time to change, to right now. It's not conception. And we have to find, there's always a different way that we can shift our life. One thing I would suggest is I heard you say very strong, powerful language. I know I will not be able to, and maybe you will. You might find that you can hold it a little differently. So, for me, that's one of the things that I have to work with because I have such a history. To be honest with you, I'm really working to overcome childhood trauma. That's the truth. That's what I'm working with. And that's been my engine for my practice. But I have to be very careful to not claim primordial states as me, just because it's always been that way. So thank you very much. All right? So I'm going to ring the bell, please, and I'm just going to ask you to listen carefully. I want to thank you so much. Here we go. I'm so grateful to you guys. I'm going to bring my hands together, I'm going to bow with you, and I say thank you for having the courage to laugh with me today. Namaste.